kids, Anderson here. Hi kids, Anderson here. Happy Friday. Today we're talking a little bit about The Night House, starring Rebecca Hall. That's pretty much all you need to know. That's the only reason why I went to see this movie, because this is a horror, thriller, things that go bump in the night type movie, which is not the kind of movie that usually gets me out of bed. But I do love that Rebecca Hall, and this movie only further cemented my love of her, and she is one of my top 5 acting actresses today, for sure. And this movie, The Night House, definitely solidifies that for her. However, here's the deal. The Night House, not a whole lot of meat on that bone, as they say, or at least that's what I say. Now, there are going to be people who love this movie. The story is this. Rebecca Hall's character, she lives in a very large, beautiful house right on a lake up in upstate New York. And we know that she lives there by herself. We learn very early on that her husband is no longer with her. We're not sure why, but we know it's recent because we get an opening scene where she has one of those traditional casserole dishes covered in foil that a friend of hers had given her while they're on the step out in front of her house. We're inside the house and we get a shot where it's very quiet and we can hear her saying, her friend saying, if you need anything, just let me know. And then she goes inside the house, Rebecca Hall does, with the dish, and she's very sad. And we're like, oh, she's grieving. So it goes from there. There's things that are going bump in the night in the house, and Rebecca Hall is having some issues. However, she is an alpha. She is the tough character that can take it, and instead of running away, she kind of goes towards these bumps in the night. And her performance was it just, luckily for this movie, for me, I should say, she is on the screen 90% of the time. Speaking of 90%, quick sidebar here, and this is worthwhile. All right, The Night House is the smallest movie that I have talked about on this video channel to date, and I'm going to try and only go but I'm only going to try and look at the big Hollywood blockbusters and the giant budgets. I don't even know what the budget is for the Night House. I'm sure it's much smaller than everything that I've reviewed on this video feed up to this point. However, it's a Fox. No, I screwed up. It's a Searchlight Pictures production, as in it's a Disney production. It used to be called Fox Searchlight. Disney acquired Fox, and as a result, they rebranded some things. And here's the deal. Fox Searchlight was created, I think, back in 1994 during the indie film boom. And all of the big studios made their own little offshoots so that they could also seem independent. And they had their little independent branches and whatnot. Fox Searchlight had their name. I mean, they were so brazen with it. It was right in the name, Fox Searchlight. So these are not independent movies, and even less so now that Disney owns the entire catalog and the studio itself. They did drop the Fox to try and be a little bit more cheeky about it, a little more cagey about it. And speaking of cagey, here's what the sidebar is all about. It's not often that you are borderline obsessed with an industry, such as I am with movies, and studying them daily and studying how they work. And as of recently, really getting into the finances part of it and taking long, hard looks at how independent movies survive or don't survive, or what's going on, what's really happening with independent movies. This comes from me wanting to make my own movie, another movie, I should say. And it's not every day, it's not every week that you learn something that is kind of mind-blowing about something that you thought you had an idea about. And what I'm talking about is this. I just learned this week that 90 to 95% of every movie that screens at Sundance, those sweet little movies that the little films that rarely get a chance to find an audience, but Sundance, they're good enough for Sundance. So these little independent movies get a ticket, like a lottery ticket almost, to screen there. 90 to 95% of those, as well as not only Sundance screening, but distribution, sales deals, foreign sales deals a lot of the time. Success, essentially, is what I'm saying. 90 to 95% of the movies that are successful are predetermined at script level. as in before they shoot one single page of the script, it's already been determined that they are going to screen at Sundance, that they're going to get this distribution deal, that they're going to have this many screens, as it were, or foreign sales. It's all a sham, essentially. Like the idea of independent movies and people making movies, independent filmmakers making movies outside the studio system is, we've all known it's really hard, but just this week I learned this, and I've been studying this ever since, and there's a lot of truth to it. So it's very disheartening. And one of the ways that they go about it is with things like Searchlight. So I'm not picking on this movie. However, it's not a small little independent movie. So back to the movie and back to the review, if you can call it that. So she's trying to uncover things. She's learning things about her husband, who we soon learn is dead. I mean, we learn that very, very soon, that he recently went back to the Night House now. And ultimately, the movie is like a meditation on grieving, on loss, on trust, on secrets. And everyone has secrets and skeletons in the closet, in some cases, like literally. There's a little bit of MC Escher. If MC Escher were to make a psychological thriller, it would probably look something like this. There's a little bit of Tenet even in there. But more than anything else, what you're going to be thinking about while watching, if you do watch The Night House, is recently released Blumhouse film, The Invisible Man, with Elizabeth Moss, which I absolutely loved. Now, The Invisible Man has all sorts of meat on that bone. There's all sorts of things to hang your hat on. Whereas The Night House is a much quieter film, and it's a much slower burn. And ultimately, by the time the movie ends, I'm talking about like the final shot, I was left kind of empty. Like, really? However, I'm sure that, there's a lot of deeper thinkers that are going to appreciate this kind of movie more than I. The type of people that read like dark poetry. I don't do that. So there is an audience for this out there. It's just not me. I should also say that this is one of those rare movies where I was able to avoid all trailers and pretty much most of the premise. I'd seen posters and I knew Rebecca Hall was in it. And that's all I really needed to know, because Rebecca Hall is great. If you have not seen Christine, about Christine Chubbuck, check that out. She's just phenomenal. Rebecca Hall is great. Have I said that I love Rebecca Hall? But I try and go in these movies the way that the filmmakers intend them to be seen, which when you're making a movie, you assume that the audience has never seen anything about it, and they're going in fresh and everything. I mean, we just saw Old, which I talked about, by M. Night Shyamalan. And, that movie was made as though you don't know that the kids are getting older, because there's a whole lot of like camera tricks where it's like we don't see what the parents are looking at until the big shot that reveals everything. So I guess what I'm getting at is this one I got to go in fresh as a daisy, didn't really know what to expect, got what I got. You get what you get and you don't get upset is something that my son says a lot. If you'd like to hear me talk more about this movie, as well as much smaller movies that deserve to have a light shined on them and get some recognition, because they're not part of that 90 to 95% predetermined, even though I think that a lot of the movies that I love are part of that, obviously, that 90 to 95% predetermined, pre-sold. It's just, there are so many lies and so much deception. And so many secrets, much like are the themes in The Night House, but in this business. And wow. Anyways, I would not recommend this unless you like the slow burn, the psychological thriller, and Rebecca Hall. This is a prime example, and you'll hear it all the time, of a movie that the performances are great. And usually that's a red flag for me, because if they're talking about the performances before anything else, that means that's the best part of the movie, and that is definitely the case with The Night House. Rebecca Hall's performance, once again, is phenomenal. Will she be up for awards? No, it's not that kind of a movie, but she should be. I mean, like the big golden awards with the gold statue guy. All right, thanks for watching. I will be talking more about this. I started to say on the Film Vault and CinemAddicts. I talk more about more movies other than the big ones. All right, thank you very much for watching. Happy Friday.